What's going on, everyone? So, a ways back, we got a bunch of photo set leaks, and one of those was Stu Macher's home. It had all of the high school students looking like they were partying. You saw the high school jackets and stuff, and that really sparked speculation, theories, rumors of like, what does this mean? Is Stu returning? Is, they having flashbacks to the original party scene? And we know that they replicated Stu's home, so we know that there will be sort of integration to Stu Macher's original house in the upcoming Scream 5, though we don't know exactly to what degree and how much it'll be a fixture in this film. But I do have an idea and theory that I wanted to discuss, have a discussion with you all per usual, so make sure you join it down in the comments. And before we jump into it, be sure to like this video, helps me out a lot, lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, be a part of this wonderful community, stay up to date with all things Scream, and join our wonderful discussions here on the channel. So, we know, again, Stu Macher's home will be in the upcoming Scream 5. And if you saw my spoiler video, you kind of know a little bit where I'm going with this. There won't be any spoilers in this video, so don't worry about it. It's just kind of touching and expanding on that premise. If you did see that video, don't worry, because I'm sort of expanding on the original idea, because I've had time to think about it since. But sort of my thinking and how they can incorporate Stu's home is that it could be a sort of main fixture and sort of like the center hub for the Scream film. It would make a ton of sense. I mean, it's an iconic house that, even new audiences, they might not understand the sort of gravitas that home has in this film, but to, OG fans and audiences that have seen the original film, they'll know immediately like the significance that has in this film. And it would be a great sort of center point, especially if they're doing the 25th anniversary, because I mean, you could incorporate it into a documentary, like they said, that may happen in this film, or you have the flashback scene, so you can incorporate it. And now you just have Stu's home as like this center hub. And one of the things that I touched on was that it'd be really interesting to have like the opening scene or a scene in general where somebody else is living in Sidney Prescott's old house. Because we know Sydney's not in Woodsboro. Her dad passed away between 3 and 4. So who knows what happened to the home? I mean, most of Sydney's family is gone. And yes, her father's family could have taken over the home, but you question like why would they even want that home? I mean, it's sort of like a dark cloud over the family in a lot of ways, so it's very likely that somebody else could be living in it, and so you have like a center hub. Well, Stu's house would make almost more sense and in that regard, because it is more iconic than Sydney's home, because that's sort of where everything unfolded. That's where everything ended. That's where you had the end scene, and it's always been a reference. Billy and Stu, and Billy has always been such a major focus point in all of the other films. Like Stu has sort of gotten lost in the film, in the sequels after Scream 1. It's always been Billy, Billy, and so many of the fandom really want Stu incorporated into this film and even referenced, not necessarily as a character in this film, because I've been very open about how I highly doubt he will be a fixture as a character in this film. It's just a lot to unpack, and then you got to make it explainable and believable. It's just too much. But if you have Stu's house and you have these flashbacks going back to the house, or you have like a documentary type style that's showing it, it's a great way to give the fans what they want to a large degree, because you have Stu's home, and it's that reference of Stu Macher. Maybe we get some new information about Stu from the past that we never had before. I don't want to see any retconning or anything like that, but it'd be nice to sort of get an expansion story on Stu and the house itself. Maybe it was like a house of horrors for a long time. Maybe when they did the investigation, they found other bodies that they didn't know about, or whatever. It was just sort of like this hub of just madness, and it really could shed a lot of light going forward into this film, and would be a great focus point for both new and old audiences, and you start getting the wheel spinning from there. I mean, you could even have the opening scene be in that house, where you have like a camera, like how they did in Scream 1, where it flowed to the house, and you saw the swinging back and forth. You have that pan, boom, and it opens up with Stu's house, and we're all just like, yeah, and then that leads into the opening scene, and maybe that's where the opening sequence happens, especially if these Ghostface and excuse me, in this upcoming film have a tie to the original. Not necessarily that they were like relatives or anything like that, but just let's just say that they're trying to recreate, or they're trying to mirror, or that there's some significant ties. It would make a great story to have the starting point be Stu Macher's house, because what better way to sort of focus on reprising the original from even a Ghostface perspective than in the house where it ended. Now you're starting it over. It's kind of full circle. Not just that, but the biggest point is Sidney Prescott. The speculation is, okay, how does she return to Woodsboro? Because the consensus seems to be that she is outside of Woodsboro and she will return. So how do you get her without killing an OG character? Like a Dewey or a Gale. Like how do you get her attention? Well, if the opening scene kill of a Ghostface attack was at Stu's old house around the 25th anniversary, around everything that's going on, that would be major headlines. I mean, you would have reporters, you would have just the news flocking to find out what is going on. I mean, that would be the number one headline on all news stations there are all across the United States. And so Sydney could very well see that on the news, and now you have a direct tie. Now it's sending a message directly to Sydney, and directly to Dewey, and directly to Gale, the OGs that have been there from the beginning. I mean, you can even go as far as Martha. Martha Meeks, she's supposed to be in this film. That she has ties to that with Randy. So that could be a message to basically all of the OG characters, even Judy. Everybody that was there. You have the original footage from Gale's camera that was in that house. That could play a part. Maybe Judy was at that party. And now you start piecing together all of these different, points throughout the previous film of the original Scream, which they said will have a lot of Easter eggs. This film will have a lot of, sort of homage to that original, and this is a very unique, very creative, very easy way to create that kind of story where it ties into both newer and older audiences without taking away from like the story itself that you're trying to build, because you don't want to pack too much into one film, and that's sort of been my whole point with most of the videos, and in the discussions in the comments where people are like, what about this, what about that? You got to remember that this is the first film. I could see something crazy like a Stu return or something like that in 6 and 7 if this is going to be a trilogy. But Scream 5, they have so much that they need to establish from the jump. You got the new character development, you got the story, you got to create the story, you got Martha and her family, you got Judy and her family, you got to tie in the OG3, you got to build stories around them and have them incorporated however it is, whether it's direct or indirect. You got to have that. You have to have the Ghostface stories and all of the kills and all of the attacks. And just there's just a lot to pack into the first installment of this Scream, trilogy going forward. It's really hard to start bringing back all these old characters or all these old story plots and story points to kind of fit this narrative going forward. But if you have the story sort of center around an iconic home right off the bat, that's a huge homage to the original, without being too extravagant, without too over the top or anything like that. But yeah, it covers a lot of the bases that they want in this film going forward. I mean, it's a way to get Sydney's attention, and it can even explain her sort of return to the upcoming film. The whole, even the plot premise is somebody comes back to their hometown to investigate a strain of attacks, a strain of murders. That could be Sydney. The idea is that it's one of the Carpenter sisters, but we don't know that for sure. It could easily be Sydney. And now Sydney's returning because she's getting all of this information from the news that's centered around Stu's house. So you get the explanation with Sydney. You get a great homage and a great sort of plot point and just beginning, and sort of everything else orbits around Stu's home. You have that sort of transition throughout the film, and it just really adds another layer to this film that would be very exciting for us OG fans. At least I think it would be a very exciting way to create this film going forward, because we know that Stus House is going to play a significance in this film. To what degree? I mean, it could be small, it could be huge. We just know that it will be in this film to some capacity, because they're not going to rebuild the entire Stu set. They're not going to, show images and stuff like that of Stu's house and not incorporate it somehow. Will it be just a quick flashback? Possibly. Will it be, a documentary and they're kind of going to where it all began? Possibly. But you could still do all three. You could still do the flashback. You could still do a documentary style type thing. And you could still have it be the center hub, because somebody's probably living there. It's been 25 years. So people have probably moved on, especially in the town of Woodsboro. I mean, granted, Jill's attack was 11 years ago, but even then we don't really know how that unfolded. We don't really know what the outcome was. It just kind of seemed it left off as Jill as sort of the hero. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes going forward. But as always, this is a discussion, and I want to hear from you. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. Again, like this video. It helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, again, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notifications, join all of this discussions with this wonderful community, and stay up to date with all things Scream. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.